Houston Texans coach and GM Bill O'Brien has been in the hot seat with the Texans for quite some time, but especially since blowing a 24-0 lead in the divisional round of the NFL playoffs last season. And since then, that seat has gotten even hotter. Roman is with me here today to talk about how he made that so much worse over the last week, especially after trading Deandre Hopkins and a 2024 round pick for a 2020 second round pick, a 2021 fourth round pick, and running back David Johnson. Roman, first reactions to this.
He needs to go. This is one of the worst deals I've ever seen, and just period. It doesn't make any sense to me in any way how you're going to get rid of, not even arguably, the best wide receiver last year.
Yes.
Not even arguable. You just throw him away for a David Johnson, who, don't get me wrong, it's not a bad running back, but just... You have Watson. Who's he going to throw to now? I understand you brought in Randall Cobb, but it still makes no sense how you're dropping that kind of quality for basically nothing.
Yeah, Randall Cobb's a good, second option. Yeah. It was like, or even a third. Like, Dallas had Amari Cooper, and then you also have Randall Cobb available, which is good. Good player to throw to, but can he really be, like, one of your main options anymore?
He ain't Hopkins.
No. And when you have a guy like Deshaun Watson, who's one of the best quarterbacks in the NFL, with the ability to be able to throw to DeAndre Hopkins, and Hopkins is a guy who can eliminate mistakes. If you miss throw on a deep ball, Hopkins can still go and get it. One of the best at those 50-50 balls that he can grab. He's one of the best at that. So obviously the trade put them in a bit of hot water to begin with. Well, Bill O'Brien put him in hot water to begin with, but it got even worse the day after when Michael Irvin, the Hall of Fame wide receiver, claimed that O'Brien criticized Hopkins for having the mother of his children, or the mothers of his children. There's more than one in that. The mothers of his children around too often in the locker room and team events and whatnot. And Bill O'Brien had a meeting with Hopkins regarding this topic, and he compared that meeting to a meeting he had with the late convicted murderer Aaron Hernandez, who apparently had a meeting with him for a similar topic. And Hopkins was astonished that Bill O'Brien drew such a comparison between the two guys. And this is kind of where the relationship deteriorated. So what did you think of that, Roman?
At the end of the day, Bill O'Brien's just trying to cover his own ass and trying to make basically... We don't know if they're excuses. They kind of sound like they are, but we're not sure of it. He's just trying to kind of make sense of why he did such a horrid trade after the backlash that he's getting now.
But how is that reason to complain? Like, we don't know the full story, but he's complaining that Hopkins has his children's mothers around, and apparently, it's one thing if the team has a rule about that, but like if it's just you're picking on Hopkins, and then not only that, but comparing it to Aaron Hernandez.
Oh, it's horrid. It is horrid, especially from your GM, not just your coach.
Like, how would you feel if you're getting compared to a convicted murderer? Likely multiple cases. He didn't have his trial for the other one, or he got off on one of them. He did not get off on the other. But multiple cases, potentially Aaron Hernandez, and you're getting compared from that. Like, it's one thing to have to say Bill O'Brien also had a meeting with Aaron Hernandez about that, but to compare that,
it was horrid.
How does that make you feel as a receiver? And obviously, Hopkins was very upset after this trade, and this might be why. And Michael Irvin reported this on ESPN. Hopkins is trying to keep this low key. He didn't follow that on Twitter. Like, he was trying to take that back a little bit, but maybe just trying to save it for PR purposes. So,
yeah.
I mean, that's astonishing to me. It seems very clear to me that O'Brien just wanted Hopkins gone and didn't really care what they got for him. My question, a big question: Tom Brady has multiple mothers for his children as well. Tom Brady had the mothers of his children hanging around the locker room, would this also be a problem for Bill O'Brien?
Well, of course not. It's Tom Brady. He's the golden child of the NFL.
There you go. So maybe is it partially racially driven? Maybe subconsciously it is. But if Tom Brady was doing the same thing, is there this much of a problem from Bill O'Brien's standpoint? I don't think so. And obviously Hopkins had the right to be upset. And this trade is horrendous.
Oh, it's a horrid trade.
If Diggs can get a first round pick, Hopkins better get you at least 2 first-round picks. You know, at the minimum, 1 first-round pick involved in the trade. I think for this to look good, you have to get at least I think you take away the second-round pick that they got and make it a first. This is still a bad trade.
Yeah, but a first and David Johnson, it's not like you're right. It doesn't look as bad, but you need that first. You need a first in that trade to make it look good. It's a horrid trade to make, and props for Arizona. They laughing what they just did.
Oh, I mean, are the Cardinals the real deal here? They've got Kyler Murray.
Let's not go there yet.
They've got Kyler Murray. They've got decent running backs. Especially with the addition of Drake midway through last season.
Mm-hmm.
Kirk is definitely not a scrub. He's a decent receiver, and you just added, from what we saw last season, the best wide receiver in the NFL.
And they got Larry Fitz.
And also Larry Fitzgerald, exactly. The wide receiver core, like 3 top quality wide receivers with Kyler Murray, who's dual threat, one of the better dual threats in the NFL, if not second best behind Lamar Jackson.
Third best, Mahomes.
I
throw Mahomes
as a running quarterback.
As a dual threat, I throw him over Kyler Murray. Yes.
I'm talking about the running game, just like in terms of the running game from a QB.
Then yes, no.
Okay,
You're right.
Sorry. In terms of running game from a QB, I have Kyler Murray as the backup for Lamar Jackson. And from the running, obviously, I would obviously have Patrick Mahomes over. Okay,
sorry,
but yes, I think the issue is
their defense.
Partially is the defense. The bigger problem is the division that they're in. They're in a very, very difficult division. I don't think that they can really still make up the room they need to, given that they have to go through the Seahawks, who are looking incredible, the 49ers, who are got to the Super Bowl, as well as the Rams. I think the Rams are going to really regress this season, but you got a tough division to go through still. But the addition of the other wild card, it's potential that they could be a wild card team, and I think this is a team for the future as well, especially with Kyler Murray, a first overall pick, on the come up. I think
curious what they do with that pick. It's a decent pick. It's not bad.
I think Kyler Murray is able to elevate to another level, especially with Hopkins, because he can just bomb it downfield and Hopkins can just go grab it. You don't need to be perfect when you're throwing to Deandre Hopkins. So in this situation, it's looking like the Cardinals are laughing.
Oh, you're laughing.
Like, the Cardinals fans are laughing. I spoke to some Texans fans on Twitter who are very upset with this trade, to say the least. We talked about Bill O'Brien when they blew that 24-0 lead in the playoffs. You were saying he should get fired. Then I was like, hot seat, one more thing, and he's gone. Well, you still want him fired.
Oh, he should have been fired before.
This is my one more thing. You have Deshaun Watson about to enter his prime, and you've got the best wide receiver in the NFL in his prime. In his prime
at 27 with him. Oh my god.
And you trade him for a peanut butter and jelly sandwich.
You trade him for a half decent run game.
Yeah.
Which you don't really need.
You brought this up a bit earlier today, Roman. Todd Gurley got released yesterday. What about the Texans?
The possibility?
Throwing in Todd Gurley to a team with Deshaun Watson, with DeAndre Hopkins still, because, they want to improve the run game. They can pick up Todd Gurley.
And a good D.
And an already good defense.
You're terrified to play them.
Yeah. So, Bill O'Brien, for me, if I'm the owner, this is done. You just completely washed away any potential threat that they had. They could have been in a championship game last year. If they could have been going up against the Titans.
If they got their shit together.
If they punted, what was it, from their own 30 instead of going for a fake,
it was
getting
like
Mahomes
the 40,
momentum?
Yeah, something stupid like that. I can't remember, but it was horrid.
Bill O'Brien has to go. That's what I'm getting from this. I think it's astonishing that it already looked bad, and it looked even worse on Bill O'Brien after what he said to Hopkins, comparing him to Aaron Hernandez. And Bill O'Brien has not been a good player manager throughout his entire tenure as GM coach.
No.
There's been multiple problems. This is not the first. And even upsetting DeAndre Hopkins. You've got the best wide receiver in the NFL. You do not upset DeAndre Hopkins. No. And even still, you get a good package in return for him. Because if Diggs can get you a first, sure as hell, DeAndre Hopkins is getting you a first. And I was astonished. I mean, it rocked the NFL world when that happened.
Oh, it's baffling. I remember it was funny. Me and Colin were upstairs, and we're like, the report came out that David Johnson got traded. And we're like, oh, what did he get traded for? Then we go into the actual report, and we're like, it's for Hopkins? What just happened?
Yeah.
It wasn't even the header of the article. It made zero sense.
Yeah. Oh, David Johnson in the trade involving Hopkins.
Like, what?
Wait, what?
Yeah, a little bit.
No. This is the Hopkins trade. David Johnson's involved in that.
It's bizarre.
So end it there. Thank you for listening. If you're still here, you can follow Amateur Sports on social media at AmateurPDC. Links in the description. You can also subscribe on YouTube to stay up to date if you want the video content instead. Stay up to date with Amateur Sports. We post every single day. Keep coming back for the daily content. We will see you again tomorrow for another episode. Thank you for listening.